Homeschool families do not have a monopoly on family connectedness and a love of learning. Hi, I'm Rachel from 7 and All, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about homeschool things, homeschool habits that any family can implement. Homeschoolers talk a lot about how our lifestyle helps build strong relationships in the family and helps instill our children with a lifelong love of learning. However, homeschool isn't for everybody, and yet I believe that for most families, these are desirable things. These are things that you want to have. You want to have good and tight family relationships. You want your kids to love learning. So what are some things that homeschoolers do that could fit into a lifestyle where your kids are going to traditional school? Because there are these habits. These are habits that public school or private school families, many of them already do, and if they aren't doing them, that they can do, that they can seek to do. Today, I'm going to share 4 things that I think any family can do to increase family connectedness, strengthen family relationships, and to encourage a love for learning in their kids, a positive relationship with learning with their kids. Number 1 habit, very easy. Talk about what you learned as a family at the dinner table or in the car or whenever you're all together as a family. Make it normal to have conversations about what you learned. And I'm not just talking about the kids, because if you try to just start this out of the blue and just ask your kids, so what did you learn at school today? The answer might very well be nothing. But work on building this as a culture. You, as a parent, what did you learn today? What experience did you have that offered you an opportunity to learn and grow? Because I bet that you had some of those experiences in your day. Start sharing about those with your kids and offer your kids the opportunity. Make it a habit for them to share about what they learned. And maybe that was something in their classes, but maybe it was something at lunchtime. Maybe it was something in a conversation with a friend. Build a habit of talking about and sharing with different people in the family about life lessons and book lessons that you have learned. Make this something normal. Second habit, read together as a family. Reading aloud is a precious habit. It's one that many families have, but it's also one that many families can struggle to implement regularly. And I would encourage you to make room for this in your schedule, because building a positive relationship with books and building memories of reading books together as a family has so many benefits. I truly believe this is an incredibly valuable habit. And if you're struggling with it, one thing I would say is be very careful to choose enjoyable books. Just because you're reading something as a family doesn't mean it has to be like super serious and super educational. It doesn't. It can be something very enjoyable. One book series that my dad read to me when I was growing up in the evenings was A Series of Unfortunate Events. I would not say it's the most greatest literature in the world. It is incredibly enjoyable. Another book series we read together was Wayside School. Incredibly silly and so much fun for kids. The Wayside School series. I love that series immensely. Find a time in your schedule. Look at it. When would work well for you? For a lot of families, it's bedtime. Make it a habit that you're not going to just all go to your own devices, that you're not just going to all get lost into different corners of the house. Make it a habit that, hey, we're going to sit down for 15 minutes or 20 minutes and we're going to read a story and we're going to read through this whole book. And maybe you might even find out that after one chapter, it's a little bit addicting, and if you've chosen a good enough book, it's a little bit addicting and you want to keep reading and you want to spend more time reading together as a family. But this is truly a habit that I think should be instilled very early on, and it's something that can be helped when you do your work to pick out really good books, because nothing makes read aloud time harder than a boring book. Number 3 habit. Be very intentional about protecting your schedule and keeping open space in your schedule. This is something that you will hear homeschool families talk about a lot, that we protect our schedules. We see the value of having open space to live in. We see the value of having space to just be together as a family. So we are very intentional about not signing up for too many commitments. For the traditional schooling family, I think this is even more important, because more of the time in a week is spent going in different directions. So I do think that it can be very helpful to be very protective of what activities you will do outside the house. Maybe if you're going to do an activity, is it something that more of the family can do together versus having everybody going in separate directions? What activities are co-ed so that brothers and sisters can do them together? What activities are friendly to multiple different ages so siblings can do them together? That's something I would be, if you're going to do activities, look for activities that can be done together, or just be very intentional that you don't got to do all the activities. A lot of the activities cost money anyways. Probably don't have actually all that money to spend. So protecting your schedule has so many benefits for giving a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of space in your week. Find a way to do that. Maybe it will mean dropping something, and maybe it will mean dropping something that's good. But we have to judge between good and better. Number 4th habit that I want to encourage you, any family, to instill is make it a habit to pass down knowledge. You have knowledge, your grandparents have knowledge. I have heard so many times from so many adults, I really wish that my parents would have taught me this. I know that they had this skill. I know that they could do it, but I never learned how. Make it a habit. Just make it part of your day. Every time you're doing something, talk about why you're doing it. Talk about the process of how you're doing it. When you're making applesauce, try to do it on a weekend. Try to do it with your kids, and talk about, invite them to ask questions. Talk about, why did you choose those apples? Why do you have to sanitize the jars before you can it? Talk about the whys, talk about the hows. Don't just kind of have them observing, but involve kids and talk about the process so that you're actually passing down the knowledge you have. Maybe you know how to sew. Don't just sew for your kids, find ways to include them in the process. Maybe you're just dusting bookshelves. Talk about, why do you start on the top bookshelves and go down to the bottom? Tell your kids that, because people don't just spontaneously know things. They know things because they were taught and they were told. So make it a habit to pass down knowledge. Pass down knowledge of your own family's stories and legends and histories. Talk about your great-grandparents. Talk about, even the bad stuff, even the sad stories. Your kids should know that. That does help build connection to their family. I think a fantastic resource that ties into some of the ideas I'm talking about in this video is A Place to Belong by the author of the Heritage Mom blog. I would highly recommend that book, and I will definitely link it below. She talks a lot about how to build connection in the family, how to build your own family and your home as truly a place to belong for your kids. And while that book is written by a homeschooling mom, it is accessible to families that use any kind of schooling and any kind of education for their kids. This was the heart behind this video. The idea that, yes, just because homeschool lifestyle people love to say this, we choose this lifestyle to build connection with our family, to give our family space, to build a love of learning, it doesn't mean that those things are off limits to people who choose to and need to use other methods of education. So even if you're using a totally different method of education, I support you, but I want to encourage you that these things are not off limits. You can make intentional choices to pursue family connectedness and to pursue building a love for learning in your kids' hearts. Leave some comments for me down below. What are some habits that you include in your everyday life to pursue these worthy goals? All right, thanks for watching. I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.